to the ABC Podcast.
Always be cool.
The show where your hosts, DC and BK, showcase your local business and real estate pros going gangbusters in leadership, community involvement, and just being cool.
Here are your hosts, serial entrepreneurs, mortgage experts at Summit Lending, and partners in crime, Darren Copeland and Bobby Kerr.
All right, hey everybody, it's the Always Be Cool podcast with Bobby and Darren, BK and DC, hanging out with our great buddy, Mr. Jaime Bluma.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the invite. I've been
yeah,
watching
man.
all the other ones, hoping that I'll get the call. And I got the call.
Got called up.
You did.
Bring him in.
You're ready to go. You're used to that.
Good.
You're used to that. Right on, man. Well, hey, I'll start with a quick intro,
Yeah,
and then
do.
we'll get rocking from there. So, Mr. Jaime Bluma, born May 18th, 1972 in Beaufort, South Carolina, grew up in Owasso, Oklahoma.
Yep.
Tulsa area, right?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Owasso from a baseball standpoint.
That's
at some
awesome.
point.
Former Major League pitcher, pitched 17 games for the Royals in 1996. Perfect 5 for 5 in save chances. Drafted in 94 in the third round by KC. Member of the Sports Hall of Fame at Wichita State University. Very cool. Still holds the school records in saves and appearances. 3 times College World Series participant. Twice in championship game. 18 and a third innings, postseason of college baseball, only gave up 1 earned run.
That's a good story, too, the one
Right.
run.
We're going to have a bunch of good stories, man. Red, White, and Bluma is your charitable organization raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, has a passion for helping veterans, and overall just one awesome dude. Jaime Bluma, welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah. It's funny to hear all of that. You forget
Right.
all the things that you did.
We do a lot of research.
You don't wake up every day and say that to yourself?
No, I don't.
Jaime, we actually do more research now than what we did like in high school and college.
Same here. Yeah. I am no longer the saves leader nor the appearances leader of Wichita State. I've been passed. Actually, my little brother broke my saves record after I had left.
I did see
And
that.
then Noah Booth, who Wichita State guy, he broke the all-time appearances record.
You know, that's pretty
Credit
cool.
where credit's due.
You've got,
Right.
Yeah.
you and your 2 brothers, all 3 attended
Correct.
Wichita State and
Yeah.
played baseball, right?
Yes, older brother was on. So we all have our own little niche. Like older brother won a national championship in
Right.
'89. Then I went to 3 College World Series and obviously got a chance to pitch professionally and then pitch in the big leagues. Then my little brother was there and was in the College World Series, and then he was a 2-time All-American. I was never an All-American. I had Darren Dreifert. I had Darren Dreifert in the same bullpen.
Right, I remember.
So he got all the
So
stuff.
wasn't he drafted
It was
like
fun.
second overall behind
yeah.
A-Rod?
Yep, A-Rod and then Darren in '93.
Well, wasn't Darren quite the hitter back in the day, too?
So he was. He didn't hit a ton as a freshman, but he was always a talented guy. And then his junior year, he ended up hitting 22 home runs that season. And the crazy thing about it is he had 11 of them in the postseason.
Wow.
So between the Valley tournament, the regional, we didn't do super regionals back then, and the World Series, he had 11.
Well,
So that got us all the way to the national championship game in '93.
That's amazing.
Which
Well,
we lost to LSU for the second time because we did that in '91 as
Did
well.
they have Lyle Mouton?
They did. Yep.
Yeah,
I still talk to
remember that.
Lyle. Yeah, a lot of
Really?
those guys. Yeah, we've all kept in touch. Actually, funny story with the College World Series just going on. Todd Walker, who was on a bunch of those teams. Todd's son is actually playing at Louisiana Tech, who Wichita State opened with this year.
Oh, wow.
And Todd does a ton of stuff for the SEC network. So he and I texting back and forth.
Cool.
Rick Green was the closer on the '91 team. He and I keep in close contact. We actually played together in the Arizona Fall League. And then years ago, they used to have a celebrity softball game down in Baton Rouge to raise money for Two Seam Dream Foundation, which was Rick Green's thing, and had a ton of us. It was always fun to go back because all I know is I'm just going to catch a bunch of hell from all the dudes down there because we could not beat them.
Isn't that the
91
fun
and
part, though?
93. Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
And those
'cause-
guys were good. Lyle Mouton,
Yeah.
Armando Rios, Chad
Yeah.
Auger. I mean, on and on and on. And we had dudes too, with Dreifert and Tyler Green and Casey Blake. And
Right.
we were, it was fun. I mean, it was fun. It was sucked that we could never beat
They were
them.
home,
We
yeah.
couldn't get we
Well,
couldn't
they were
get them.
decent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they won 5 that decade.
Yeah, they were
with Skip
studs.
Bertman and that whole
Yeah,
deal. So
they were rock
kudos to them.
stars. Well, if
Yeah.
a lot of people don't remember, because you and I are basically the same age, just a few months apart. But man, back in the day, Wichita State was just an absolute juggernaut.
So between 82, they went to the World Series in 82, and I've seen replays lately. That's when they got caught on the hidden ball trick. So that was Phil Stevenson, Gene's brother. They played for the national championship then and lost to Miami. And then they went to the World Series in 88, 89, 91, 92, 93, 96. And so of those 7, we were one of
brothers.
we're 6 of them.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah. And then another crazy tie-in that you guys don't know, watching the College World Series, Kyle Peterson that does the play-by-play
Yeah,
for
okay.
ESPN.
Yeah,
His dad and my dad graduated high school together in Arlington,
way.
Nebraska, population 1,200. So actually, Kyle and I met at the '88 College World Series.
You're
He was
sitting in stands
14.
watching.
He was 14. I was 16. And our dads were high school
Crazy.
classmates.
Wow.
He ended up going to Stanford and then made it to the big leagues with the Brewers.
Right.
And now he does what he does, college baseball, ESPN. So it's always fun to
That's
chit-chat with
crazy.
him and all that stuff. So, yeah, crazy to tie it all full
So
circle.
Right.
knowing you a little bit, you strike me as a person that in college you may have lived a little bit and didn't just lock yourself in a dorm room or
I
an
don't believe
apartment
that.
and do some studying.
So that's what I say. So both my brothers were academic All-Americans, and I was not an academic All-American, but I give them crap that I actually left my apartment.
Yeah. And you made the big.
So yeah, so we had
cool.
we had a good time. So
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Well, one of the funny stories I remember way back in the day, I think it was one of the first Royals fantasy camps that I went to, and you were down there. This is like 10 years ago, right? And you remember Michael Chu?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Chu's like 29 years old. And I think you guys kept him out to like 3 or 4 in the morning
That's
or
been known
something
to
like
happen
that.
at camp.
Yeah,
Right.
just
Yeah.
rumors, right?
Yeah, sure.
Whataburger might have been involved. I don't know, right? But
also a distinct possibility.
this dude looked green the next day. Like he was in bad shape. But
So I'll tell a story, and I won't name names, but that happened. So we always go to the Moon Saloon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was under construction last year, so we weren't able to take
okay.
the guys that first night.
Right.
So we took a guy that I knew was going to be on my team, and we got out of the van, get back to the hotel, whatever time it was, and he threw up when we got out of the hotel. And the next morning, he had 7 hits the next day in 2 games. I said,
This
"See,
wasn't
look, man,
VZ,
you have
was
no
it?"
idea." No, I'm not going to say who it was.
Right, no.
I said, you never know what your body can handle until you put it to the test.
Exactly.
So yeah, you
Take
didn't
it
know.
to the limits.
You were thinking that you were going to have 7 hits when you're getting out of that van and throwing up all over the deal. No chance.
You're fine. You're fine.
So today we're going to talk obviously a little bit of baseball. We like to tie in a lot of stuff, adversity, talk about leadership, entrepreneurship, all the cool stuff that you're doing in the community. So we're going to kind of have a wide scope of stuff today. So let's kind of start at the beginning. So obviously you were, I know in DC's introduction, he mentioned you being drafted by the Royals in the 3rd round. You were actually drafted the year prior in the 7th round.
Correct.
By
Houston
Houston
Astros.
Astros, right?
Astros.
Yeah, it was crazy. So their first round pick was Billy Wagner that year. So I had known Billy from the Cape and some things.
Wow.
And so I don't know what happened that year, but they didn't have a 2nd round pick. They lost it because of something. I can't remember the thing.
Wasn't banging on trash cans back
It wasn't then. No,
Lost
and
it for some
I'll have to go
reason.
back and look and see what it was. But I knew that they had some money laying around, and I knew I was a 7th rounder, and we had just gotten back from Omaha, and the regional scouting guy, the area guy, we just didn't get off on the right foot, and I ended up going home to my parents, and I just decided something doesn't feel right, and they backed out on an offer that they were going to offer me, and I was like, you know what? And I told my pitching coach, I said, I'm not going to sign him. I come back. He's like, don't be jacking with me now. And I said, no, Shane Dennis and I. Shane's coming back too. He got drafted by, I think, Toronto. And so we just decided. So Darren Dreifert and I actually flew to Alaska, and we played in Alaska that summer in the Alaska Summer League. And
nice.
it turns out
read
that my center fielder in Anchorage that summer, Rolando Avila, was the Astros' 13th rounder. And they kind of had treated him like crap too. He was from a
Wow.
junior college in California, I think L.A. Harbor. And so neither one of us signed. And so I had a good summer, and I thought maybe when I come back for the NBC tournament, they might offer me, but they didn't, and that was fine. And then went back for my senior year. And
Tried to run it back and forth time in the
well,
World
and
Series.
and that was the whole thing is nobody had ever gone 4 straight years. So Shane and I had talked about that. And we lost a lot of guys. We lost Dreifert. We had lost some dudes, but
So it meant quite a bit to the staff that you both came
Both
back.
came back. Shane
Like,
had had-
you guys were both planning on going to the bigs.
well, to the minor leagues.
Getting drafted.
to sign.
right.
Yeah, that was our plan. I'd had a great junior year. I think I'd gone like 6-1 with 10, 12 saves and a 1 something. So my thing was, what else do I have to prove in college?
Right.
I might as well go. But then the negotiations didn't work out like I thought they should. I was still a good student too and wanted to get that much closer to being able to graduate. And so it turned out to be the best decision. Now, I don't know if you know the story about when I got drafted by the Royals and my scout and all that.
Well,
stuff.
we
I want you to talk-
want to
Gotcha.
hear that because did you have any
Sure.
inclination that, I mean, being so close proximity wise to Kansas City that you were going to get drafted by them?
No, I hadn't really talked to anybody. And going into the Valley tournament my senior year, I kind of pitched crap, like I had a bad outing. And so
Right.
I was like, man, that sucks because I'd had such a good senior year. Jimmy Walker, not Jimmy J.J. Walker Dynamite, Jimmy Walker had pitched at KU. And he was a non-drafted junior and ended up being a 3rd-round senior 2 years before by the Orioles. I'm like, well, it can be done. but you really got to
It's
lock.
rare.
But you got to be lights out. And I kind of stumbled right at the end, and I'm like, well, that's it. I'm going to get a bucket of chicken and a plane ticket, and be a 10th rounder and go play. And that was it. So I was resigned to that fact, kind of. And so then we don't make it to the College World Series. We got beat out by Georgia Tech at home, and that's where I gave up the one postseason run.
Right, your last outing.
Yeah, they brought me into a game against Georgia Tech, and I think I hit Jay Payton with the bases loaded in a game that I probably shouldn't have been in at all. But so that ended up being the last outing of my collegiate career. And I still give Gene Stevenson crap on that one. Like, why was I even in the game? But and so I'm not really sitting around waiting around on draft day, the first day. And there was no cell phones back then, so I'm sure we were out doing something.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call the morning of the draft, like, "Hey, the Royals took you in the 3rd round." It was
shocked the house.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like,
were you pretty jacked?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ken Gonzalez and Dave Hickerson, who was the Valley Center head coach, was a bird dog. They're like, "Hey, we'll see you this afternoon, and we'll sit down." I'm like, that's outstanding. So,
awesome.
So that's what happened. So we ended up at my apartment, and we were going over all the paperwork, and I'll vividly remember it now that Kenny wasn't feeling great. Like, I don't know what was going on. He didn't feel great. He was, kind of cranky. And it was my girlfriend at the time. It was her birthday. So I didn't end up going out to dinner with them. I ended up filling out all the paperwork for the thing. And
you couldn't sign quick enough, could you?
No, and I was ready to go. And they offered me, almost the same amount of money I'd been offered the year before, which was crazy as a senior.
Yeah,
right.
At the time, it was the largest senior sign of all time because you have no bargaining power. Right. It's $50,000, which doesn't seem like much.
You can't say I'm going back to college.
Right.
Yeah,
and so I go to dinner with the family and all that stuff, and don't go to dinner with and I get a phone call the next morning on a home phone, again, no cell phones, and it was Dave Hickerson. He's like, "Hey, Bloom, I got some bad news. Kenny had a heart attack and died in his hotel room last night." Like,
and you just saw him
the night before.
hours.
The night before. Wow. Like, I said, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "You better go pitch your ass off," And that was crazy. Like,
wow.
That was it.
You were the last person that signed a deal with Gonzalez.
And he was the guy he signed Bo Jackson.
Bo.
He signed Bo. He was the one that had a relationship with Bo to get Bo. I mean, he was with
that relationship
with
his mom.
With his mom in the hotel.
That was Ken. And so Casey Casefield was named after Ken Gonzalez at one point. Like he was, I didn't know him obviously until then. And he had, from what I heard, when he told me that night, he said, "We wanted to draft you the year before. We had the pick after Houston in the 7th.
Oh, no.
Wow. How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's why we do
so
this.
That's why we ended up being, that's why we took you in the 3rd, is because we really
they wanted you the year before.
Yep. So we wanted to get you. And
And you probably would have signed in the 7th round if the Royals would have drafted.
Oh, I mean, if the negotiations were going well, absolutely, no doubt about it.
Right.
So,
had you already started to build? Had you had a relationship with Ken?
No, I hadn't talked. I hadn't even talked to him.
Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's crazy.
Actually, I still have the sheet, his sheet, draft sheet on me. It's framed and at the house.
That's cool.
I'm not going to say how I got that. We'll leave that off. But I have it, and it's
like him grading you.
Yeah,
basically?
the whole
Wow,
thing. Yeah,
man.
yeah. I should take a picture of it and send it to you guys.
I know, we're just going to come over and see it, man.
Yeah,
We're just going to
got
come over to
some
the
cool
house.
stuff at the house. Sure. Make sure we're cleaned up.
Exactly.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of scouts, so most everyone knows Art Stewart, right?
Sure.
Scout legend, Kansas City Royals legend. Rumor has it that you can do a pretty good impression of Art Stewart.
Yes.
Right?
So, all right. Quick backstory.
Okay.
Yes. So my pitching coach at college, Brent Kimnitz, was able to talk with a whistle, not knowing, obviously, we didn't even know who Art Stewart was. So that was one of his things. And he would say, "Sammy Sosa wears safety glasses in sunny St. Louis." So it goes, "Sammy Sosa wears safety glasses in sunny St. Louis." Spicy salsa. So
Spicy salsa.
So fast forward, my first day in Eugene, Oregon. So Ken Gonzalez dies. I get on a plane and fly to Eugene for a mini camp. Brian Polberg's my first manager. Crazy.
No kidding.
And so I'm hitting fungos to the infielders as a pitcher. And Art Stewart walks up to me. He's like, "Say, son, you got a nice sinker." Says, and I'm like, whoa, man, that's unbelievable. I'm like,
making fun of Art Stewart basically on day one.
At that time, he was probably 80, and I thought he was kidding around, but
no, that's how he
so
talks.
I almost got released one day into my Royals
First day.
professional career because I'm making fun of our
Who's this smart-ass kid?
Because how he talked. "Say, son, nice sinkers."
You got an ability to make a first impression. Tell the story. I've heard this story before, where you kind of had a habit of wearing your hat backwards.
So in Wichita State, I kind of got away with whatever. I mean, I would wear Zubaz pants during batting practice and whatever crazy hat, like the umbrella hat. Or we won. Like my pitching coach, Kimnitz, will say now, like, if you hadn't pitched good, I wouldn't have let you get away with all that crap. But you guys went out.
He gave you some slack to do
so that was always the thing, having fun. And so that first day I'm shagging in the outfield, hat on backwards, airing it out, doing whatever, having a good time. And Brian Polberg walks up to me and right in my face, and he said, "Son, you need to find your face." And I'd already probably pissed off Art Stewart, so now I don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm like, "Find my face." Like, I don't know what that means. But I'm like, "Yes, sir."
What does that mean?
Oh, but he's like, "Pretty sure the bill of your cap covers your face."
Roger.
He said, "I'm pretty sure Ken Griffey Jr. earned it." Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I never wore my hat backwards again. Not in professional baseball.
Right.
Yeah. So,
That's
things you don't know.
It's a good heads up.
Just college stuff that and we had a good program, so we kind of thought we knew what was going on. Sure. And I used to think that Wichita State was good enough that we were the same as a AA team. That's what we thought.
It's like a collegiate football program to think they can beat the NFL team.
So we're like, I would top 25 baseball, I would consider low A.
Okay.
That's about, because, up and down the lineup, you're not going to have guys up and down the lineup.
Right. Exactly.
But back then, Wichita State, we're pretty good. We're like a double A team.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
we're
we're
legit.
not.
No. Hey, speaking of stories, so I almost forgot about this. So Fantasy Camp 12, and then we didn't have 13, but
you remember the years way better than me. I'm just so fortunate.
Because you're hanging out 4 in the morning over it.
Hey, man, everybody's got their niche. You got to stay in your lane. I know what I do well.
You were in a fog. But tell the story. So you, I believe, were heading to a pitching coach gig, and you came across an accident in 2013, right? And you actually helped you were like, what, one of the first ones on scene?
So we saw it happen. We were actually coming back. I remember it vividly. It was KU versus Georgetown in Lawrence, and I had ridden up there with a gal, and we were on our way back. It was an ice storm. So we had finished the game. If you remember that ice storm that year, I don't know what year that was. 2000, I don't know.
2013.
Okay, there you go.
Right here on the notes.
So we're coming back, and I remember we were at the wheel after the game. I'm having a beer with John Holt, and the weather's awful. Okay. And we both looked at each other like, if we don't get back to Kansas City now, we are all going to be stuck in Lawrence.
Right.
So we got to go. So got in the car, we're heading back. We're going down K10, obviously.
Yep.
And we're going about 20 miles an hour. I mean, it is terrible weather. Yeah. And I look up, and going westbound is a truck spinning.
Oh, my gosh.
And there's no middle wire, like near Kill Creek. And I was like, oh my God, I hope that. And so to our left is a Honda CRV is passing us on the left going
way
2
too
miles
fast.
an hour. No, not crazy.
Right.
But we're going 20, maybe they're going 22.
Right.
And so they're maybe 50 yards ahead of us.
And they don't see it.
And that, I don't know if they see it, then they can't. So that truck ends up spinning through the median and hits that Honda CRV and knocks it onto the side on its passenger side. And I'm like,
right in front of you.
Right in front of us. Like, oh my God. And so we got out to help, and the driver's side door opens, and it was the husband. Like, I've got 2 kids in the car. And so I go to reach up to get the baby seat.
Right.
And like, what in the world? And I knew what it was, but man, I got to get the kid back to our car. So I get the kid back to our car, and everybody's okay. The guy driving the truck was okay.
Wow.
The 2 kids and the wife and the husband. So they're all in the car, and I'm standing outside of our car. It's still an ice storm.
Right.
Now traffic is backed up. I don't know how many miles. Fire trucks coming, ambulance is there. And the ambulance driver's like, is everybody all right? And I'm like, no. He's
Blue
like,
was the only one.
He's like, what'd you do? I said, pretty sure I blew out the old wheel. So I knew I'd blown my Achilles. I didn't know how bad it was. So we ended up getting home. I was supposed to go to the Chiefs game the next day. And I limp into the house, and I sit down in the recliner, and I do the old test, to see, and there's nothing. Like,
it's
just
nothing there.
So thank God, Steve Joyce, who was our team doctor, he had already done my shoulder and my knee. And so I called him and said, so he ended up having surgery on Christmas Eve day.
Wow.
On my Achilles. So,
wow.
My line on that was, I may have deserved that, but maybe not right then.
Right then. I had that coming. Yeah, but not in a hero circumstance.
I'm trying to help people.
Right.
So I can't.
Did those families come and see you in the hospital after that surgery?
No, but we communicated. We
cool.
communicated on it afterwards, and the news did a story on it. Channel 5, I think, sent somebody to the house.
Yeah.
as I'm laid up at my parents' house on Christmas. And thank God it was Christmas break.
Right.
So I'm laid up with an Achilles. And then I had to go. There's still pictures of me catching lessons in a boot.
Wow.
'Cause it's my busy time of the year is that time of the year. So I'm trying to catch lessons with a mask on and a boot and a wheelchair.
Right.
Catching lessons.
Dude.
Well, you know
There's a will, there's a way.
Maybe another beer or two at the wheel, everything would have been just fine. You might have been
Yeah,
I mean, that's the crazy thing to think about. A minute.
Oh, one extra minute in the bar.
Either direction.
Yeah.
And I'm not the one on the road.
Right.
Yeah, that's how this weird world works.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
That's crazy.
So kind of you mentioned it, so I think that's a perfect segue. Your coaching, your teaching that you're doing with young people. I mean, going from a player to a leader of young people with coaching and instruction. Number one, tell us about the programs that you're working with.
Sure.
Number two, how has that impacted, you think, those young people? And number three, how does it impact Jaime Bluma on a sense of being able to serve those folks?
Two things. One, the line I use now is like, I know I was a decent player because I was good enough to make it to the big leagues, but having coached for 22 years, I think I'm a better coach than I was a player. Just because I want kids to love the game. I've been fortunate enough to have some students that have made it to the highest level.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, Ryan Stanek, who pitches for the Astros, was one of my former students. John Means, who threw a no-hitter with the Orioles.
Yep.
Had a fortunate opportunity to work with him. So to have two guys do that, I mean, that's crazy.
That's
and
awesome.
that's the cool thing about just instruction in general in Kansas City is getting better and better. Not just myself, but there's a ton of other people in town.
Right.
And the talent here and the instruction is through the roof. So fortunately, when I got done in 2000, I was able to start coaching and teaching with an outfit called Old Ball Game. That's actually was in the building that is now Mac and Sites. So I started with those guys, John Patton, whose dad was Marty Patton.
Oh, yeah.
I worked with him.
Wow.
Corey Owen, who I still work with now at Home Field, was part of that group. So I've been with those guys for almost 22 years. And so it just started hourly, teaching lessons and trying to get a little rapport with kids and doing that stuff and helping coach camp and kind of doing anything and everything. And then I got an opportunity to do some coaching in Alaska where I had played and ended up with Jacoby Ellsbury in center field one year and Mike Pelfrey.
That's
and
crazy.
Mike Zagurski from KU that made it to the big league. So to coach younger kids and then get a chance to coach some college kids at that talent was cool. So I did that for 2 summers and then been coaching and teaching and doing that I was with 68s for 6 or 7 years. And now I'm with Home Field and we got some big things coming with Home Field. We got a big place out in Olathe off of Kansas City Road next to Furniture Mall, Kansas is our spot. And we've got one on
We've had
Bannister
some
Road.
fantasy camp practices.
Yep, and we do fantasy camp practices a little bit on the one on Bannister. And then our organization is the one that's got the project going out where Schlitterbahn used to be.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Home Field Project. So that's going to be a destination spot. So a really youth destination with, I think, a Margaritaville hotel, a water park again, indoor fields, outdoor training facility, outdoor fields. Cool. So that's all in the works. So
how does that feel, like being a mentor to these young guys? You've been there, done that, being drafted, being a stud in college and also in the pros. Like, how does that feel to kind of help mentor these young guys through the process?
It's a blast. I reach back. Like, one of the first lessons I remember ever having was Joe Carter's son. And so Joe was a huge Wichita State alum. And so I realized early on that Joe Carter's son doesn't listen to his dad.
Right.
And so that's been a crazy thing. Like, regardless of who your father is.
And
we can't relate to that at all. I have no idea what that means.
And so, and Joe Randa's kids and Jeff Montgomery's kids and all that, and I coach them travel ball. Like, it doesn't matter who their dad is. They don't listen to dad. They can be saying the exact same things.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if your dad is Joe Randa or Bobby Kerr or Darren Copeland. I can say something and they'll listen.
Comes out
and
different.
that's, and just try to explain to them, fundamentals and have fun and respect the game and love it. And that's the fun thing for me. It's great that I've had Ryan Stanek and John Means and all the guys that have played collegiately and professionally. But when I run into a kid at a restaurant who's now 26 years old and works at Black and Beach and he sees me at dinner and says, "What's up, coach?"
How cool
that means
is
he had a great baseball experience, whether he played past high school or even played in high school.
Right.
That's what means the world to me, because you're trying to develop young men.
Absolutely.
And the truth is, nobody's going to make it at the highest level. Be a good human, help be a benefit to society, and do good things, and pay it forward when you get the opportunity. I mean, all the kids that have worked for me or I've worked with, that's the thing moving forward. I try to tell them, like, when you have the opportunity, do the same things for the people that you're working with.
Absolutely. We talk about this in our business all the time is, there's basement people and elevator people, right?
Sure.
And you always want to hang out with the elevator people that are going to lift you up, right? Because coaches have more influence on those young kids than almost anyone else in their life, right?
Amen.
And they remember that. So whether you're at a ball game or a restaurant or something like that, for those people to come up and say thank you, dude, that's
huge,
it, man.
huge.
That's awesome.
One of my lines is collect good people. That's what I say.
We say the same thing essentially, but we hire for heart and work ethic.
I remember Gene Stevenson
anything
saying,
else.
"You are only as good as the people you surround yourself with." And I didn't think I was listening to that comment when I was 19 years old at Wichita State. But now that I'm 50 years old, that is absolutely 100% true. So you guys know, and you surround yourself with good people, good things are going to happen.
That's
all day long.
absolutely
all
true.
day long.
Yeah, all day long.
So coaching young people, teaching young people, I'm sure you get kids and folks of all ages, all body types, and just like you said, serve them, coach them up in baseball and in life, right?
Yep.
So you growing up, you didn't have the prototypical Major League Baseball frame, right?
I wish I would ever be asked, "Did you pitch?" I never get that.
Right.
What do I get?
You catcher.
Did you catch?
Bullpen catcher.
So I think that's kind of a maybe one of an adversity that you hey, I'm going to prove these people wrong. I don't have to be 6'5",
Sure.
right?
Well,
200
two
pounds.
things, and I'll say this, and I say this to my students, whether they believe me or not. I was a guy that battled my weight all the time. It was always, and so every spring training, I tried to weigh in at 199 because 199 looks 20 pounds less than 200 when you're 5'11".
Right. Sure.
And that was it. And in college, I probably pitched at 200, 205, 210 was probably my best weight. But then I'd have a tendency to end up the season at 220 or 230 and then have to work all off season to get back. So
what were you doing during the off season to cause that?
The beers are good.
They're so cold.
I enjoy food. Never trust a skinny cook. Right. So that was always. So I try to explain to guys I wasn't the guy that it was just. We had to run a sub 6 mile at Wichita State. That was work. That was something we had to do every year.
That's fast.
Yeah. So the first year I didn't make it. My younger brother never made it. I'll give him shit about that.
Right.
You're good.
But that's the thing, and some guys are just such naturally talented athletes. I wasn't that guy. Maybe I was good. I had a good arm, but I had to work for everything. And the irony of it was being a shorter guy. I remember the first fantasy camp that I did, and it was Marty Patton, myself, and Jeff Montgomery standing there talking about pitching. I'm like, not one of us 6 foot tall. That's pretty cool.
That's good company.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, but that gives the other kids and the young ones hope of hey, I don't have to be that prototypical 6'4", 6'5".
No, and that's what you see. That's the beauty. I say
that
all the time. That's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
Is you can be 6'7" and be Aaron Judge, or you can be 5'9" Tom Gordon. Tom Gordon,
Jose
he's next
Altuve.
Royal.
Flash,
Tom Gordon. Flash wasn't even 5'10", I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so doesn't matter.
Yeah, and
go
his
out there
son
and do. I
even
love
made
that
it,
picture of Altuve and Judge at second base from a couple years ago.
It's
That's
a
crazy.
baby.
Right.
Man.
With a monster.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of this sport that's different than football and different than basketball and those things. There's a certain level. Baseball, man, we take all kinds.
Speaking of the beauty,
exactly.
speaking of the beauty of the sport, sometimes in baseball they do crazy stuff before games.
There we go.
I've heard about those.
And the then California Angels did something. And actually, they do this often, I found out. The Angels specifically, it's like a thing for the Angels.
Okay.
And they did a cow milking contest.
Correct.
Right? Which you'd had a little bit of experience.
A little bit. Not a ton.
But you were in the bullpen, right? So tell the whole story.
So I was in Indianapolis the night before, and as we've discussed already, wasn't in my hotel room a lot at night. So Mike Jersley was our manager, and he called the room. He's like, you answered. What in the world? You okay?
Are you sick?
He said, well, good thing that you're in your room because you're going to the big leagues.
This is first ever call up.
So it's first and only. So I ended up having to go yada, 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 get on a plane the next morning, fly to Anaheim, figure out how to get a cab to the stadium, all that stuff. So I remember dragging my luggage across the outfield from the right field bullpen into the dugout. Well, I knew Todd Green and Mike Holtz on the Angels, who I played against in college.
Yeah.
They're like, woo, and they're
Right.
rookies too. So it was kind of a cool thing. So I get to the dugout. Well, I had not been to big league camp yet. So I don't even know the manager. I don't know Bob Boone. I know his son.
Aaron.
Because I
Right.
played against him. Yeah, Aaron and I had played against each other and together with the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. But I had not been to big league camp, so I didn't really know. The only guys
Nobody
that I knew
knew you then,
not
really.
just the guys that were already in the big leagues that had been in AAA. Randa and Vidiello and some of those guys that I had seen
Damon
in AAA. Damon was up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
He
you
had
literally
come up
had no idea really what was going on.
no, so I ended up going into the manager's office, and there was some sort of a roster snafu of some or whatever. And I don't know if it was Julio Valero and Tim Pugh were the two pitchers, and then Bip Roberts.
Yep.
So Bip Roberts was going to work out before the game. If he goes on the DL, I'm active. If Bip Roberts doesn't go on the DL, I go back to Indy. I go back to Indy the next morning. So as we know about Bip Roberts had a tendency to not play in the World Series, whatever. So Bip goes on the DL.
Didn't he take himself out of a game?
In the World Series, yeah.
In the world.
In the World Series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's another whole show, probably.
Right.
So you're active. So I go down the bullpen, and Jose Rosado, if you remember him, another rookie, same draft as me. He started in bottom of the fifth. There was a pop up by the dugout, and he was a super athletic pitcher. Don't say that we aren't. And he fell into the dugout as he caught the ball and twisted his knee. Phone rings. You got the sixth.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Here we go.
Here we go.
Did the nerves just
absolutely.
like
you don't even
overflow
really
you?
have time. Get up, get loose. You're in the game. And so I do that. Rewind a little bit after having the meeting and know that was the cow milking contest. So You're the rookie. I think it was Chris Haney or whoever, or Belcher. I can't remember, Monty. You're obviously you just got here today, so you're the guy that's going to go do it. So I'd had a little bit of history with my family being from Nebraska that I had milked a cow or two, not a ton.
Right.
Mike Holtz was a super redneck.
He done
so I
it a
knew I was
bunch.
in trouble. Yeah. So
walked over there.
I'm actually leading, and I'm thinking, and then the cow kicked over my bucket of milk, and I lost. So
Before we continue,
I think we got a picture.
I got a
oh
picture.
my God,
have you ever seen this? This
No.
is on the internet, the web, the
Shut
interwebs.
the front door.
It's kind of pixelated, but there you are,
That is unbelievable.
right?
Right.
So
That's Mike Holtz.
yeah,
Have you not seen that picture before?
I have never seen that picture before.
I'll send it to you.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I wish it had more. There's I can't find any
He's still
video.
got the
I'm telling
He's
you,
holding this pail
bucket
of milk.
That is, I have never seen
amazing.
that.
hey, we
Wow,
do our
I'm skinny.
research, brother.
I'm skinny. Wow.
Yeah, this is
how
no
good you guys are. Crazy.
amateur show, man.
No,
we,
man,
that is
we
impressive.
dig in.
We did get big time.
Wow. So I think it was like ticket. Which is in California? Disneyland or
Disneyland.
So yeah, it was like Mike got 4 tickets to Disneyland. I got 4 tickets to Steak and Shake or something. I don't know.
So how did you do going in the 6th inning? How did it work out?
So
What you had to get?
you guys know the story. So I come into the game, and the first batter I face is Rex Hudler, and so he hits home run off me. So 1-1. I thought it was a 0-1 count. It was a 1-1 count.
Does he still
I did
bring
go back
that
and
up to this day?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I remember. So that happened. 427 feet. I remember hearing it over the loudspeaker, like, well, that's not a good start. Dang, these guys are pretty good. That's Rex Hudler, not like Babe Ruth. Right? So then Chili Davis hit one back up the middle, and Charlie Brown me. But I didn't give up another run that inning. So, and that was that. So after the game, of course, saved the ball and all that good stuff.
That's
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was your family and friends, were they just phoning in, or were you calling them
No
after
cell
the game?
phones, bro.
Yeah,
That's true.
I get back to the hotel.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
who even had my number at the hotel? That was phone card days.
Yeah.
Calling
cards?
Absolutely,
Calling
man.
card.
Calling
Wow,
card
that's
days.
right.
Yeah. So, and I think my parents, because of all of us playing in college, my parents had gotten a 1-800 number, to do that for us to call back home.
I remember that.
So that was an interesting. Yeah.
So-
not many people knew you could do that.
Yeah.
And that's how we
To get
would
around
call,
the long distance.
Well, not get around it, but then the bill would always
Just
be
to
theirs,
reduce, yeah.
not ours.
Oh, okay.
So.
that's interesting. So,
that was-
sticking kind of with that same, I don't know if this was a college story or if this was, no, I think this was probably college. Hoppy the Toad.
Oh my God! All right, so
Bro, this is great.
hysterical.
This is
so I
awesome.
actually have a couple. Collegiate baseball did a whole slew of articles about
Yeah.
the hoppy and the ecosystem.
Right.
All right. So
I have hoppy
how
and
this-
ecosystem.
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
toad.
So this all started in like the Missouri Valley tournament my freshman year. We had a toad. We found a toad in the bullpen.
Okay.
Steve Smith was a senior reliever from Canada. Fun. So we had the toad on a leash. Just
Like a literal,
that was
like little dog
oh
leash?
yeah.
Well, like something like this.
Yeah, like let's just a piece of string or something,
That's awesome.
And so the net and it escaped, and we lost
Shocker.
it. So yeah, well, shocker.
Get it, Wichita?
So I see what you did there.
So we end up winning that regional, and we go to Omaha, and so that was kind of a good luck charm. So my mom ends up going down to Old Town Omaha and finds like a little plastic frog, and so I put it in my hat and found like a giant grasshopper, and then just a bunch of a shark. And
For
so-
those listening who aren't giant baseball fans, we tend to be very superstitious.
I don't even know if this was superstitious, but now we created it. So we're practicing at Creighton before the College World Series, and in the dirt in the bullpen, we had created this I have a picture of it at home I have to send you, this entire ecosystem of frogs, and we had to find another toad somehow and all this stuff. And then I have a picture where I have a giant cricket with a baby's head on it hanging around my neck with a plastic frog on and I always warmed up with my hat on backwards.
Right.
And then as I'm coming into the game, I would turn my hat around. And I wondered when I got to pro ball why people thought I was an asshole. Like,
Why?
Where are you getting this from?
You didn't even. I didn't know. Like, I wasn't.
You don't know
doing
what
it.
you don't know.
We're just having fun, man.
Right.
And so if you know me, like I've been this same dude since then. Like just having a good time. I wasn't ever doing it to piss anybody off.
Right,
But that was
right.
the superstition thing. The day I got my first save at Wichita State, that's what I did. We had terrible uniforms, dude. We had V-necks and drawstrings. We didn't have buttons or belts. Gene was a tight ass, man.
Wow. I say for a good program that had been winning for
We
so
looked like a
many years.
softball team in the College World Series. Go back and look at the highlights.
Right.
Same
That's-
colors as the Bad News Bears and everything.
We need to check that out later.
Yeah. So,
It's like the
so that
Sunday
was the
softball
thing.
team.
So spin the hat around, and that was it. So that's kind of what I did for the next 4 years. So that was that. Then the
Should have-
ecosystem, and so
Right.
all
great.
that.
That's a
Just
great
fun,
story.
just having fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you for
So
sharing that.
another thing, Bluma, because you're a great storyteller. So what's maybe a story that we haven't asked you? What's one of your favorite stories from back in your ball game? What your playing days, whether it's college or
All right,
pro?
all right. So I'll do a do not do this story. So
Okay.
1993 College World Series, we lose the national championship game again. So we finished second twice. We're lined up along the first base line. They hand you your second place plaque, and I turned around and frisbeed that thing into the dugout and broke it into like the worst sportsmanship. Kids, do not do this. Do not watch that. I was so pissed. We finished second again.
Right.
Having watched my brother win one, us lose one in 91, and then we lost again. And another story was Brett Laxton pitched that game and struck out 16. We ended up trading for Brett Laxton with the Royals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a freshman at LSU then. And so that was the a story that I don't like to tell, but from a sportsmanship standpoint, please don't do this.
Right.
I just completely lost my
Do as I
composure.
say,
Not as I did.
That's a maturing story.
Because I remember growing up, like my mom and dad, if you ever throw your helmet, we'll come on the field and get you and yank you off that field.
So this is when all the dudes were on the field and
we're lined up.
We're
We're
lined up.
Oh yeah. Like just, I'm glad there's no pictures of that.
There might end up being a picture of that, like in your locker, like November or something.
And I bust myself. Like,
Sure,
don't
sure.
do this.
Do you, DC, do you have a memory of playing baseball where it stuck with you that it was kind of almost like Bluma's story of like, don't ever do that again? I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember like a particular thing?
Just particular time, I struck out a couple times in a game, and I just rifled my helmet into the dugout, and all the parents and everything. I'm just like,
yeah.
And you can't find a hole quick enough to go hide in, right?
I remember sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
I was 16 and playing Legion ball in Blue Springs and got a single, which is usually about all I could do. It's a singles
I don't
machine,
believe
right?
that. Right,
Really. And but I could steal. I stole a lot of bases, right? So I attempt to steal second base. I thought I was safe. Of course, I was probably really out. Ump calls me out. I get up. I throw my helmet. First of all, I was a very respectful player. Like I had my stuff together most of the time. I got up, I threw my helmet down and it bounced, almost hit me in the chin, and I yelled out a giant GD loud enough for my grandmother to hear.
Oh no.
Who was in the stands and everyone could hear.
Did he invite you to leave the game?
I get in the dugout. First of all, my coach said, "Sit your ass down," and my mom came over to the dugout and said,
"Oh no,
Grammy heard you and everyone else heard
You're
you.
done.
I hope you know what you just did." And oh my God, I was this tall. And that story stuck with me, right? So as
Dude, I can feel you right now.
I was so embarrassed. My anxieties were going crazy, but it stuck with me so well for the rest of my life that when I started coaching, I was coaching girls softball or high school golf. I always told that story at the beginning of the season about, hey, whenever something bad happens, because it's going to, take 2 seconds to pause and think.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep breath and say, no one died. Right. Let's just take it easy because it's not that big of a deal.
Well, and you can also translate that to the business side, right? Because everyone's watching you.
Sure.
Right.
All the time.
So you always have to make sure, even though that something might upset you, but, again, be an elevator person. Don't let that show and just be classy, especially now. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. People are recording stuff. So, I mean, you just always have to be cool, right? Yep. That's one of our sayings, Jamie, is ABC.
Hence
always
the name of the podcast.
We actually have a podcast.
I love it.
We have this podcast.
I can't wait to hear it. Well, that's one of my things, too, is, I'm doing camps all the time. So, I come across a ton of kids all the time. And that's just respect the game and just how you go about your business and hustle. And there's I had one a couple weeks ago where I was like, hey, run off the field. We're scrimmaging right now. And he's like, nope. And I said, excuse me. He said, no, Coach, I'm conserving energy.
Oh,
like,
boy.
Oh, my God. And that comes from home.
Was it snowing around him because he's a snow?
So that's what makes me mad. Like that, the kid's 9. He didn't come up with that on his own. Like that, so that we're going to have a chat, little Johnny. Yeah. And I'm going to have a chat with your parents. Yeah. Once camp's over. And so those situations get awkward at times, because a lot of times kids don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So that's our job as coaches and stuff. You want to hope that some of that comes from home.
Right.
The good stuff. But
that's a coaching opportunity
all the time.
For the
They're
parents.
there all the time.
Yeah.
For the parents, that's what I try to tell them. And be nonstop opportunities just to help kids be better kids and young men. And yes sir, no sir. All those things, man. It's pretty simple. And I get that asked a lot all the time, just for as little big league time as I've had and stuck around town and do a ton of stuff. Man, be nice to people. What a crazy blueprint.
Shocker.
Yeah, be nice.
Isn't that amazing?
Help people.
Right.
Do some stuff that other people can't do. I mean, that's where, and we'll talk about Red, White, and Bluma here in a minute.
Yeah,
that's how that all kind of came about.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's talk about it now.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue.
So first of all, rewind. My dad was an F-4 pilot. So that's why we were all born kind of all over the country. You said I was born in Beaufort, South Carolina. My older brother was born in Selma, Alabama. My younger brother was born outside of Chicago. Wow. Dad was in the Marine Corps.
Different bases, right?
Different bases. Yep. Not Chicago. He had, after Vietnam, he went back and finished school at Nebraska and was a petroleum engineer and was working for Texaco outside of Chicago. Okay. So that's where my youngest brother was born. So 2012 or 13, my mom and dad had moved to Kansas City, and I'm slaving to the grind, working and doing lessons and all that. And I'm like, man, there's got to be more to this. I mean, I like what I do, but there's got to be something else. And so I had always a country music lover and a live music lover here in town. And so Travis Marvin and Noe Palma had become decent friends because of Will Jennings. They always had live country music out south. And so I was like, man, I kind of want to do a fundraiser. And Folds of Honor had taken place in Owasso, my hometown. Nice. And I didn't know Dan Rooney personally, but he's a KU guy. And I knew some people that had contact with him. And I said, so I gave him a call.
Right.
And I said, Dan, I know you. I think you have an idea who I am. Enjoy Owasso. Love golf tournaments. But Uncle, everybody has a golf tournament as a fundraiser. I want to do something completely different. I want to do a concert and all this stuff. Do I have your blessing? Yes. So the first BlumaPalooza was 2014. I didn't expect the Royals to be in the playoffs. Oh, yeah. So that put a kind of a wrench in the thing. And it was in October. And so I lucked out. And the team was on the road in Baltimore.
Wow.
And so I ended up hiring a company to come out and put up a big screen and a tent. And so we could watch the game.
Wow.
And then we could have the concert. So I remember standing next to Noe Palma and the game's going. I'm like, when are you going to play? Like, he's like, you wait till the game's over,
right,
idiot. Like, okay, man, I don't know. It's my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. And so all that stuff. So the first year, BlumaPalooza 2014, every penny went to Folds of Honor.
That's awesome.
And they'd kind of built a back end of the website where you could donate through. And I didn't have a credit card swipe. I didn't have any. So if you wrote a check, you had to write it to Folds of Honor,
right,
and cash. So the next morning, probably hungover because we had a good time. Stephen St. John and I got booed off the stage for reading raffle ticket numbers out loud. We'll never do that again. Little bit of rain. But we're counting money, so we had cash and Crown Royal bags.
Oh my gosh!
And so that's the next morning,
Sounds like my kind of party.
And
right?
we raised, $7,000 or whatever on top of what got donated. So
that's awesome.
I was like, well, that's probably not the best way to go about doing things. So that's where Red, White, and Bluma came from. So I sat down with my accountant, my attorney, and you got to come up with a name, which, as you well know, trying to figure things, not that easy. Red, White, and Blue, not getting that one.
Yeah, nope.
So I was sitting in Nick and Jake's having a beer, and I looked up at the flag there at Nick and Jake's, and I said, Red, White, and Bluma.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
I said, man, I hope that's not too vain. I'm not a vain guy.
No,
but I was like, that's pretty good because it's my dad. My dad. So a lot of people say, Mr. Bluma. I said, that's not me. That's my father.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's how it came about. So as of 2015, this will be year 9 of BlumaPalooza in September. We've raised over $350,000.
That's amazing.
Over the first 8 years, including $100,000 alone last year. And so not all of it goes to Folds now. I kind of spread the wealth. So Veterans Community Project here in town, Hero Fund USA, a whole bunch of other Variety Kansas City
Like
that
Luke.
does Live Like Luke Foundation, and on and on and on. I mean, I could get a list of the people that I have, and I just want to vet where the money's going, and if it's local Kansas City or anybody veteran allocated.
Well, and let's give our listeners an opportunity to get involved because it is an amazing project.
Yeah, so September 24th, this year is a Saturday. It will be at Stonegate Motor Plaza, which is 207th and 69 Highway South in Stillwell, Bucyrus.
Right.
Will be Travis Marvin and Noe Palma again. They're nice enough to do it this will be the 9th year.
It's awesome.
So I'll do a silent auction with some really cool stuff.
That'll be fun.
And then I do one live auction, which is a flag made out of bottle caps by Ezekiel Crozier.
You kind of do that.
Who's a vet
That's
here
an
in town.
every year thing, right?
Yes.
Bottle caps.
We've done that
That's cool.
7 of the 8 years. I met him through mutual friends, and last year that flag raised $20,000.
Holy
We sold 2 of
smokes.
them for $10,000 each.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool.
amazing.
And so I can't thank everybody for being involved, and it's fun. The first 6 years I had rain, so the last 2 years have been absolutely spectacular. So knock on wood for September 24th. We usually have the Veterans Community Project mini house on display, some food trucks and some items.
Now,
and
is there tickets if people
You can
want-
buy the website.
BlumaPalooza.com or redwhiteandbluma.org. And then I'll have a Facebook and Eventbrite. That's what I got to get cracking on this week.
Yep.
I was getting the Eventbrite up and all that stuff for sale. Or you can just show up and buy tickets at the front door. Cool. It's easy, so you don't have to buy stuff beforehand. We do run a shuttle. I run a shuttle from Tanner's on 143rd.
Oh, nice.
Back and forth, so people can grab a couple beers at Tanner's or whatever, not drive, hop in the bus, shuttle back and forth and all that stuff. And
Such
it's
a
just
great
good time.
cause.
Yeah,
man.
you've
done a phenomenal
It's been
job.
fun.
You
and
and the team.
At some point, we've talked about this. We switch gears a little bit and have either Soul Shine or
Mr. Bob Jovi.
Bob Jovi play the event.
man,
I got to
that'd be
switch it up.
lovely.
I mean, I've done country for 9 years in a row.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, Travis and
they're good.
they're so good.
Right.
They're
And they're good friends.
And they have names like that.
True. And
a
so
lot
do
of
you.
people know, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah, but I'm sure Bob Jovi probably could play 1 or 2 songs in there, mix it in a little bit.
we can figure something out.
Because
absolutely.
speaking of friends, so one of our really good friends, I've known him since junior high. So Sean McGraw,
Oh,
Tug,
yeah, absolutely.
for
Yeah.
Fancy Camp. So went to junior high with him, played ball
I
with
did
him.
not know that.
Way back in the day.
They're besties.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
in
good.
Independence, Missouri. And, man, I just want to personally thank you because you've done a lot for him. And, him being a Marine.
Sure.
There's no former Marines, right?
Right.
And,
I made that mistake.
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Steve Bluma.
But he is, man, I know he's done several things with you, and man, he just loves hanging out with you and all the things that you do to help the veterans, man. So like from us, like thank you for all you do for those people, man, because those guys go through stuff that no
That's the
one can
very
ever
least I
imagine.
could do. I mean, I don't want anybody to think that I served. I did not. My father served, and I'm trying to help all those people that have.
Right.
I just got to pitch, for God's sake. So with my, circle of friends and reach, why not try to do something like that?
I love we do this every single episode. We find something where every other guest has done or said something that's very similar, right? Yep. So whether it's
just giving back,
so like this theme
Servitude.
that we're talking about,
Yep.
like whether you're Les Norman or Fitzmaurice or it's the same message. I was able to do something that was extraordinary that so few people get to do, like pitch in the big leagues or play Major League Baseball. And I now have somewhat of a platform, and I have a group of friends in this fraternity where we can help people now, even though I can't pitch in the major leagues,
Right.
I still am able to give back in a way. And I know that's why you started this, right? Like just 100%. Like you said, I have an opportunity to do something that's going to help a lot of people.
I wish I would have made $100 million playing baseball. I did not.
Right.
So I had to figure out a way to be able to give back. But I don't have enough personal wealth to be able to just be thrown around. Let me get other people's money and give it away.
Right.
That's special.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's been, and the support from just everybody that's been, and people that have been to BlumaPalooza are like, man, please come back. And for the people that have never been and come for the first time, it's just fun to see. I remember Craig Wilson played shortstop at K-State, played in the big league with the White Sox. I remember he came the first year and he's like, I thought it was going to be some dude playing a guitar on your back porch like we've done at your house before. He's like,
He had the bar way down there.
Yeah, he's like, holy mackerel. I said, that's what we do, man.
Yeah.
How come we can't mold all the things that I like together and raise some money doing it?
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you're
fun.
going to have a really good fraternity, and that's what we have viewed fantasy camp over the past few years. I mean, literally, it's a fraternity of guys that keep coming back. It's not about the baseball anymore, right?
Right.
It's about the brotherhood and hanging out. So it's awesome to see these guys at charity events, Bob Jovi shows,
Weddings,
and just supporting everyone.
I can't tell you how. I mean, I have a huge stable of guys that I've met only through fantasy camp the first time.
Right.
And I continue to see those guys all the time. So I'm fortunate enough to get an opportunity. So thank you to the board and everybody else involved, alumni, Dina. Before that, Chris Stathos and Fred White, way back when they were running camp. To get to go the first time was kind of the big deal for me.
Awesome.
And so I was always going to try to make the most of it. If I'm the guy that's got to stay out till 3:00 in the morning,
Someone's got to do it.
hey, man,
it's a dirty job.
everybody's got a different fantasy, right? So, however, I can
That's right.
facilitate
Hanging
that.
out with former Royal in the bar. till 4 in the
Everybody
morning,
wants
right?
a Whataburger at 2:00 in the morning.
Exactly.
You'll
I
drive
think-
them through it.
Oh, well, somebody will.
Somebody
I won't.
will.
It's your job to support it.
That's
Right,
BZ's
right.
job. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
Thank you, VZ. For
Yeah,
being the
BZ's
driver.
the guy.
Oh, my
Sure,
gosh.
for sure. So yeah, that's always trying to find something to do on that Thursday night, because
Right.
So we've done hockey game.
Yeah.
We've
Concerts.
done concerts. We'll figure out
Yeah,
something again.
it's
It's
a lot of
different. It's
fun.
going to be different this
The
year.
saloon.
November. The saloon, Moon Saloon.
Yep.
Yeah, different
There's been
neighborhoods
some
this
great
year.
stories, man. Yeah, different neighborhoods. So I got to
see.
get the lay of the land a little
Right.
bit.
You might need to pull some
Where we're at.
strings and get Bobby and I on your team this year.
You know how that goes. I am going to stay away from that one.
Let's not bug Dino about
No,
that.
no. I
No,
would not.
we don't even do that
don't even
anymore.
do that.
No.
Well, and it's I have a unique relationship with Dina just because I used to run around with Dusty. So when we were the same age and working out here in Kansas City.
That's cool.
Yeah, so Dusty and I were spending too much time at Kelly's and doing all that kind of stuff.
A couple of things. Number one, I don't think you know this story, but I took catching lessons from Dusty for 2 or 3
Nice,
years.
good.
94
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
96.
I believe it.
At All Stars in Blue Springs.
Yeah.
So I got to know them back then. Funny also thing about Dusty, there was an article that just came out about potential managers for Royals.
Right.
Oh, really?
And
Right.
he's listed as
Would that be amazing?
number one.
Be cool.
Potential would be really cool.
That would be
he's
really
still
cool.
coaching third base for the Phillies.
For
So
the
that would be
Phillies,
Right.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
So
Yeah.
I remember way back.
Just saying.
just saying.
Just say.
He was going to be a pro wrestler. He had his nickname and everything. It was going to be the
Really?
Sandman. He'll put you to sleep. That was so funny because he was in AAA with the Mariners.
Yeah.
I was in Omaha. So when we weren't here and working out or whatever we were doing,
Right.
yeah, funny. Yeah,
Wow.
he's doing great. Good things
That's
from him.
hilarious.
So before we wrap up, can you lift up your right hand?
Yep. there it
Actually,
is.
I have it. All right. Nub fell 18 feet off an extension ladder.
Show that to the camera. Yeah, there you go.
Good.
18 feet.
So I have a fingernail that grows out of the end of it.
Show DC.
I have to trim that.
It's kind of gnarly, bro.
So I was at 68 Inside Sports, fixing holes in the batting cage net. I'm up on the ladder, and the ladder slipped off the aircraft cable. And I've never been part of something that is 1,000 miles an hour in slow motion at the exact same time. But if I could see myself falling on that ladder and dying or breaking both arms or my neck, all I could think of was, man, if I reach up and try to grab a hold of that aircraft cable, maybe the whole mechanism slowly collapses. And I don't even know, but that's my only shot. So I reach up to grab it. So I end up falling straight up and down. Feet hit the ground, knees buckled, face hit the ground. But I stood up, And I knew I'd done something to my foot, so I looked down at my foot. And when I looked down at my foot, my finger was gone. So they call it degloving.
Yeah.
So if you would, grab my backpack from right outside the door. I got something else to show you.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. For real.
All right, this is
Right
not
there.
scripted.
No,
I'll be right
this
back.
is not. And I failed. So they ended up doing a skin
It's not
graft.
your finger, is it?
They ended up doing a skin graft from here. And I asked the doc why there, and he said no hair. And I said, oh, man, that'd been cool to have a Sasquatch.
That's right. I have a hairy finger.
Sasquatch shocker finger.
Bro.
Yeah, and there it is. So Zeke Crozier, as I mentioned, that does the bottle cap flags, works really well with acrylic, and he was able to buy a mold.
When did you do that?
So that's 2 weeks ago.
2
he finished
weeks
it
ago.
up. So there it is.
Hey, let me take a picture of you holding your finger. Oh my God!
I got to be honest. I didn't see that one coming today.
No.
So it was in the
neither did
freezer
I.
for 10 years.
What, next to your ice cream?
No,
Kept in your freezer?
the beer freezer out in the garage.
Can I hold it?
Yeah.
It's the size of a pool ball.
So the
billiards
original.
ball.
So when I was a kid, in the back of comic books, you could buy like little ice cubes that had flies in them, fake and all that stuff. So that's where that kind of got dreamt up. And I talked to Zeke, and he ordered the mold and all that stuff. And so the cool thing now is when you're having a whiskey, is a giant ice cube in there.
Shut
So I was like,
Are you
put that in
being
a rock
serious?
glass. So you better watch yourself at camp, boys.
It's funny.
When we're sitting out by the pool.
We got a gift for you. It's a Summit Lending rocks glass.
There you go.
No, what you do is you give it to someone who's a little hungover.
Right.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow,
so-
dude! Thank you for that.
So it kind of works as a magnifying glass because it almost looks like a toe.
It looks like a big toe.
So there's
right?
there's the bar in the Yukon. You've heard about the shot where you have to drink the shot and the mummified toe has to touch your lips. Look it
Oh,
up.
no.
That is a true story. Look it up. The toe show. People have sent mummified toes to this.
That's an upgrade
bar.
from down the Ozarks. You drink in the minnow.
Yeah, you're not. It's plastic. Like when you're drinking it, you're not going to touch a mummified toe to your lips. It's a.
so throw that thing in the freezer.
That's amazing. Thank you for that.
You just never know what's going to happen on this
No.
show. man.
I'm
That's
so glad.
amazing.
I'm glad you
A lot of
remembered
people
that.
don't even realize it when I'm talking about it, and
Right.
So I tell kids all the time, like I can still throw strikes. I've got 4.5 fingers. What's your excuse? Exactly. Let's go.
My nub can make this ball spin like no one's
So a
business.
lot of my buddies call it the narwhal.
Oh, it because it got the horn.
Yeah, I got the little
The horn coming
horn.
out.
So I have to
That's
trim
gnarly.
that nail so it doesn't get too sharp.
Yeah, you won't
That's
be giving
crazy.
anybody wet willies.
No.
With that finger.
That keeps kids in line at camp. That keeps you don't want the wet willy with the nub at camp. No, coach. No, sir. I'll be good. You won't hear the no, I'm not hustling, I'm conserving energy. When you're doing
Exactly.
the wet willy with the nub.
Here comes the
God.
number. I don't know how we top
Well,
that.
before, okay, let's.
I don't know how
we
to
can't
top
top it. But you were going to
No.
tell some stories about maybe ape.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Two quick things. One, kudos to Emily McNeil, my fiance, is doing a 340-mile kayak race
that's
from
amazing.
here to St. Louis Tuesday, her 5th time. Kevin Apier, former Royals pitcher, he does that, and because Ape is such a strange cat, it makes sense that he's out on the river all by himself. But one Ape story I'll tell, and he wouldn't ride in a cab with me. He called me the cockroach. He thought I was dirty and would not ride in a cab with me. So he would either make me get in the front of the cab or in a
or not at
completely
all.
different cab.
Wow.
But I love the story of when he would go shower, he would get a towel out and look at it and it had to be the perfectly clean towel before he'd take that one. So that was a process.
Okay.
And then when he would finish the shower, he would set that towel on the ground and then take his foot out of his, shower shoes and then make sure he got on the towel perfectly so he didn't step on the dirty ground. And process
Wow.
again. And then about halfway through that, when he would be, going to put his underwear or something, Gooby'd come in and throw his dirty jock and hit him with it like on the side. And he'd have to start the whole process over.
No,
So he'd have to go back in the shower.
Oh, so it's like an OCD thing. Like where
100%.
It's not like I just have to have this clean towel. I have to do the whole process.
process again.
Yes.
So,
Holy
so would Gooby linger in the background and wait for him to get close?
And he had his own stall in the shower, because he didn't want to be close to anybody else in case something bumped into it. Just hilarious, dude. He wouldn't flush the toilet, like the urinal with his
dirty.
hand. He'd kick it with his
Yeah.
foot. So like Kangaroo Court would roll around and we'd just bury him with fines because he wouldn't flush the toilet, or he probably wouldn't even show up for Kangaroo Court, and we'd say that he cussed 9 times and we'd charge him extra. And then when he'd show up like, hey, you owe $2,700. Okay.
He didn't even find it.
No. So all that money went to the end of the year party. Anyway.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's.
So you guys did Kangaroo Court like as a major league clubhouse?
Absolutely. Well, that's where it all came from.
I had
Really?
no idea. Did you know that?
I had no. I thought they just did that to make fun of us campers because we were just old and did stupid stuff.
So you think it's about you guys? No, we did that stuff. That was one of our things in our clubhouse in the big leagues that nobody knows about.
Okay.
That we have given to you guys.
Wow.
For fantasy camp, because there's some things that go on at Kangaroo Court that can't ever find the light of day. Trust me.
Exactly.
And so that sometimes I'm even worried at camp when it's being filmed.
Sure.
Like some things that have happened. Like in the years, we haven't had anything crazy. I mean, there's been some funny ones. You remember the Reggie Sanders one a couple years ago when
Tell the story.
I can't.
Oh,
right.
I'm not gonna.
You can't do it.
But there's some certain things that aren't for the general public to know.
Sure.
And that's our church.
But you guys had an actual judge then, right?
100%.
So who was one of the favorite judges back in your day?
Chili Davis was a fun judge just because he was a vet and had been around and had been with a few different teams and had seen some things. McFarland, of course.
He's so good.
And so Belch had been with all 30 major league teams maybe at that point. Sorry, Tim.
Right.
But yeah, just those kind of things and just fun for rookies too. And you don't know much about it because you don't do a ton of that stuff in the minor leagues.
Right.
You didn't know much about it.
Was it every day?
No. Every couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
No, once a month, probably.
So you guys
once
would
or
kind of
twice a
save
month.
up for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you want that box to be full.
So
because you guys know how it goes.
Oh yeah. So I know you can't divulge anything. So you guys would take that money, and then you would throw it into the year party, where you guys just go out, hang out, barbecue or whatever.
Barbecue.
Usually we just had it. We got a suite at the hotel that we were staying at, and then we had a team party at the in the suite at the hotel.
I bet that was a fun party.
No, it was no fun at all.
Terrible. It's terrible.
That's amazing. Exactly.
No narwhal fingers or
No,
anything.
not then.
No.
Well, cool. Well, Mr.
That's
Jamie
amazing.
Bluma,
Awesome. Thank
hey,
you,
man,
guys.
thanks for everything. Anything else you want to promote or tell people to?
If you want to check out homefieldkc.com, I mean, that's with all the stuff that we've got going moving forward is great. You can always go to, I need to do a better job on my own personal website. If there's any web people out there that want to donate some time and trade out some stuff, I need to do a better job on redwhiteandbluma.org or blumapalooza.com. They kind of mirror each other. And BlumaPalooza, September 24th. That's it. Thank you, guys.
We'll absolutely do everything we can to spread the
Appreciate
word.
it.
And we appreciate you bringing all of yourself today to the show.
That's good.
I had to surprise you guys. I know you're always trying to surprise your guests.
That was good.
No, that was good.
Mr. Jamie Bluma, thank you very much, brother.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Everyone be sure to
Appreciate you.
check us out online. We can find your podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Always Be Cool Podcast.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll see you guys.
Take care.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Darren and Bobby thank you from the bottom of their hearts.
They hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave them a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you're listening. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in our community.
Also, feel free to let DC and BK know which business or community leaders you'd like to see covered in future episodes. Get in touch in the comments or on social media. See you next time for a new episode. And remember, always be cool.
This podcast is powered by Summit Lending, NMLS number 1850081, Equal Housing Lender.